Last episode was absolutely depressing. We slept on this bed and we came face to face with our ex in our dreams, who posed as Dolores Day, and we found out that the reason she left was because she was having an affair with a man. She aborted our child, then had a child with that guy. But I think we've overcome it. She can fuck herself. We're concentrating on me, baby. Let's crack this case. So, let's explore this island. I want to put the petrol in here because we didn't do it last episode. The lieutenant assists you, holding the canister up to the fuel tank as you tilt. Dark brown viscous fluid pours out and the room fills with a chemical smell. There's a red starter switch on the side of the cylinder and a start rope on the other side. The lieutenant flicks the switch. Pull the rope. The recoil start wakes the old generator up. The machine splutters like an old warhorse before settling down to a rattle. This should do it. Right, so I don't even know what that's for yet. I've got plenty of skill points, but don't really know what to spend them on. Composure is usually good, isn't it? We'll do that. Suggestion's good. Inland Empire's good. Physical instrument. Visual calculus is normally quite good as well. We've got quite high in rhetoric. We'll make Inland Empire 8. Suggestion 8. Two points left. Might as well put them in here. Reaction speed. I don't actually think I need reaction speed anymore, to be honest. We're not. Well, oh no, we might. But tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep 2 points. Let's take one. Wait there. Revert. Spend 2 in there. 1 in there. And 1 in there. So at least I've got 3 points to spend if I need them on anything urgently. I think that's good. Come on then. Now, is this door completely locked? Oh, wait there. What was conceptualization? There's no way I can do that, I don't think. Conceptualization. Does anything remove conceptualization? We'll give it a shot. Probably going to fail it, but not that you can tell, this is the digest of someone who's dead bored. Most of it's for entertainment purposes. Fittingly, right next to the radiola on the floor. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nah. Okay. This great blast door must weigh over 10 tons. Rust peels off it. You see a small metal door nested inside a larger one. A heavy steel blast door. There's a conventional keyhole above the handle. It's very small. How do we open this? He looks at the door, then at its bigger brother, then at the lock. Maybe this is one of the doors we don't open. He's right. It would have been better to open its big brother. A powerful engine hangs under the ceiling. It must control the blast door. You're right. We open the big one. Do you see the controls anywhere? I think there's a console just southeast. He shuffles his feet to stay warm. Let's look around. Getting the blast door open seems like the best plan. What's on the other side? Another part of the island, probably. Control panel. Here we go. Where you going? Get down the stairs. Oh, you have to go round, okay. Hatch is shut. Water's down below us. Green paint flakes off the monoblock aluminium cabinet. There are rows of switches on the front panel, a frequency band, and even a keyboard. Run your fingers across the keyboard. The keys rattle like teeth. The keyboard hasn't been functional in decades. What is this then? The console of an antique computation device. The lieutenant points to the wires running into the machine. The generator upstairs with wires coming out. They terminate here. Could this open the blast door? I think yes, let's see. He points to the emergency dial switch. That one, the emergency open. Turn it. Nice. The blast door opens with a series of clicks. A shaft of light appears, then widens as the light shines in. A sudden wave of anxiety makes your skin crawl. After you, the lieutenant gestures at the opening. What's there? I don't know. A thin wisp of smoke rises from a charred black fire pit. The wind picks up then dies down again. Let's go. Before we do, let's go out this way, because the only time we went outside here was in the dream. Which is funny that we had a dream outside of here, because we never went out to see what it looked like prior to going to sleep. A firing slit. Must have been a direct hit to take out such a huge chunk. The reeds sway strangely. No, it's nothing. The reeds. The winch is broken. A strange feeling looking at the water. Maybe you should just wander off into the sea, leave it all and walk in. With a bottle in your hand. Why? Perhaps there's someone there under the water waiting for you. These are trying to kill me, aren't they? Smelling of tutti frutti and betrayal. Yeah, tell me about it. Baby, you know it's going to hurt. Raise your sight. In the still mirror of the bay you see Martinez reflected. Tall edifices of ruins reach into the water like shimmering towers, and the shacks too. Pine trees and motor lorries upside down. Shake your head. Nah, I'm not going that route, baby. I'm stronger than that. So we can get out this way if we want to. Aha. A weathered artillery map showing the coordinates of the Bay of Revachol. Fuel canister. I think if we didn't get the fuel canister earlier on in the game, this is obviously what we would have needed to find to open that door. An old medicine cabinet. I'll take it. Mattress nest. There's a rain-soaked mattress on a corner slab, only half covered by the crumbling roof. At the head of it, double embrasures, firing slits like two eyes in a wall. B triple prime. The lieutenant lowers his voice, stepping closer with his hand on his gun. This looks like a good place to shoot from. Inspect the mattress. Single person mattress, modern, civilian use, brand name. Marjorie, there's a fuel stain on the cover along with cigarette burns. And an empty can of beans on the ground next to it, filled to the brim with cigarette butts. Pick one out of the can. The silhouette of a tobacco picker adorns the paper filter. The brand, Tio Motiri. Like the ones we found at Land's End, remember? I may have been wrong, like I said, it was unimportant. He stares into the can for a second. This means the same person could have visited both locations. I didn't see any signs of smoking inside though. If people live there, they keep it tidy. This here may also be the smoking spot. Inspect the wall. There's a fireman slit in the wall in front of you, like a little window. Touch the concrete first. Quite old and grimy, from years without cleaning by anything other than the rain. Look through the hole in the concrete. The springs creak as you lean on the mattress and crane your neck to look out. Trepidation, a tingling feeling in your stomach. Oh, nice. A small piece of Martinez coastline opens up in the square in front of you, like a tiny landscape painting 1 kilometre across the water. The ruins look familiar. On the left. A towering skyscraper, top floor shaved off by artillery fire. Capeside apartments, Rue de Saint Ghislaine, 33A and 33B on the right. The red chimney and collapsed back and 4-story tenement in front of the whirling in rags. Rue de Saint Ghislaine. I think that's how you pronounce it. Ghislaine. Silent S. 10. The doomed commercial area, and between the two, the balcony. The box-shaped silhouette of the whirling in rags. Its slope roof. A tiny fleck of light catches your eye on the rooftop. Sunlight reflecting off the upstairs window of Claster's room. Motherfucker. What does that mean? Do you have line of sight of the window? More than that. Kim, with a pair of binoculars I would be able to see inside the room. A pair of binoculars or a scope of a rifle? He points to the makeshift bed. You'd be prone, lying on the mattress, barrel resting on the embrasure. He pats you on the back. 3 small pats in a row. I think we have it. The origin of the shot. This is the sniper's nest. Affirmative. Booyah! Master cop work. The only moderately effective cop work until we have the weapon. It will not be, how do you say, he looks north over the fortifications. Booyah, until we have that. Could the shooter still be here? Where? He looks behind his back. On the island. He does not answer, just nods. With his back hunched, he looks around once more and says, he feels uncomfortable suddenly. We should move now. Turn away. Oh, let's go. We're gonna catch this bitch. Inside of the fortress, you make out the console, so we're on the roof. The pain in your pelvis makes you wince, then you continue. You feel eyes on your back. Someone's watching, but you can't see where. Oh, it's gonna be... We're getting a showdown. Wait there. I want to save it before I go in this door. I want to put my gun on as well. Walk slow, it might be dangerous. A rubber dinghy. It's deflated and broken. Small white flowers blossom all around you. Oh, who is this? He's not hostile. Is that a gun he's got? Fucking is, it's a sniper. The deserter. An old man wearing a tracksuit trousers leans on the frame stock of his rifle. He gathers a big ball of spit in his mouth, then spits it out into the extinguished fire before him. He raises his black eyes, hooked by creased eyelids, to meet yours. Unclouded by cataracts, his eyesight is sharp. He's practically tearing up from spite. Hatred got the best of him a long time ago. This man hates everything. Sir, I need to put down the gun so we can talk further. We're the police. The lieutenant pulls his pistol from the holster.
You're a glorified night watchman. This is a service rifle. I can only lay it down before an enemy commander of corresponding rank.
Yell at him now, loud. Put the weapon down now. He scoffs. The corner of his black eye twitches. He does not reply to the command. Yelling was ineffective, 42%. Fuck. It's a good line, but your voice slips on commander, producing a little squeak. Sounds like you're afraid.
A big-time operator of the pederast army. How about I keep it, huh? Hand it over to a real killer. A briscade.
The lieutenant aims his pistol square at the man's forehead.
Put it down now, sir.
Or you're going to blow my brains out before you question me. To hell with it. It's a walking stick anyway.
Good job, Kim.
It's out of bullets.
The old man lays the rifle down carelessly, then looks at it lying there, like an amputated limb in the sand. Pick it up. His gaze follows your motions. The rifle feels surprisingly light in your hand. Frame stocked and patched in places with tape and wire. Inspect it closer. The rifle's in shabby state, like a crutch that's seen too much travel. Hieroglyphs are embossed into the forearm, made of walnut. On the butt you see Vespertine writing, burnt into the wood. Triangong 4.46mm it matches, made in Hizinyao. This uses jacketed ammunition 4.46. The right type and the right caliber. The lieutenant nods, glancing in the gun. He's liking this. This is made in Hizinyao. No one said it has to be a Belmagov. The lieutenant does not take his eyes off the old man. We are just guessing. From ballistics, it could easily have been Triangong 2. Show the gun. The old man keeps following your motions with his gaze. His left arm twitches suddenly. This looked very much like the murder weapon. It can be used against him to get a confession in time. What have you been using this gun for? No reply. His leg twitches. Strangely, like a puppet on a string, there's something off. You feel it. This was the right question. You went in too fast, over eager. You need to contextualize it for him first. Turn the key elsewhere. The lock is here. It's here. Who are you? My name, he looks across the water, then back at yours, is Losef Lilianovich Dross, political commissar of the 114th Anti-Aircraft Division of the 4th Army of the Commune of Revachol. I am a deserter, a partisan, and a prisoner of war. This is my termless surrender. His eyes turn to reeds again, dead and dull. The Commune of Revachol. The lieutenant forgets to close his mouth. Do you mean the ICM? You're a holdover from the Insulian Citizens Militia, the Army of the Revolution. I was recruited in Jamrock in 07, trained in École de Contrôle Aérien and consigned to emergency defence duties in 08. I left my unit on the eve of the landing. When I returned here on May the 14th, the Commune had fallen, still armed and ideologically trained. I wrote a criticism of myself and resumed partisan duties. How long have you been on the island? 43 years. He looks into the fire. A wisp of smoke rises from somewhere between the charred logs. I've been on other islands too. I was on Resurrection until they turned it into a spa in 18. Then I was on E48, a nameless sound until the sea washed over it. Then I came back here. That was, he thinks, 22 years ago. You've been hiding here for 43 years. 43 years and 10 months. That's steadfast. It's not how a human being should live, but I had to. He grimaces, clearly in pain. I couldn't just forget. I couldn't just forget what I saw. He just couldn't. You couldn't give up? He nods. But he can now. What have you been doing during all this time? Hiding, fishing, waiting? He looks across the water. Where the afternoon grows late, on Rue de Saint-Ghislain, people walk home, streetlights will soon be lit. Further inland, the streets are alive with workers, men, women, children, street hawks, and migrant labourers. The temperature is steady. Two police officers step out of the Whirling Rags cafeteria. Satellite officer Jean Viscoumet inspects a series of burnt black letters splashed across the plaza mosaic. That was me setting it on fire. Patrol officer Judith Minoir points west, the fishing village. She glances at her watch. We meet in 15 minutes. It's a 10-minute walk. The officers go, leaving behind the writing still smouldering. One day it says, I will return to your side. Always waiting, the old man turns his eyes from the short and back to you. For what? For her to return. Her who? Girl-child revolution. I come from there. Point to the mainland. I can assure you that is not what people are planning. The city is a tinderbox. I come from there. I'm not a fool, he blinks his black eyes. I know the material base for an uprising has eroded. The working class has betrayed mankind. The historic opportunity for a revolution has passed. It would not come back anymore, however hard I try, whatever I do. What has he done? Perhaps a confession will lighten the load. What have you done then? Yes, what? To get things going again. The lieutenant steps closer. Fan the flame. There's no flame to fan. He stares right through at him. Blink in his dark eyes. There's nothing left of the world, of our dreams. You said you deserted your unit. I was just 16 years old, 15 when I was volunteered. I had a lapse of faith. He clears his throat. And of courage too. Lapse of faith. You could say I misunderstood the historic role of the proletariat, and through Mazovian socio-economics were fallible. For a second I dealt with the irreducible laws of historic materialism. A second is all it took for what? For reaction to take hold. What reaction? Pity, bourgeois terror. It's in all men. And when was this exactly? May the 30th, 08, 44 years ago. The horizon was black with coalition airships. The petroleum rose to the sky and it looked like it formed the clouds. Storm clouds. When they started shelling, it was dark magic. Dark magic. He combined the might of international capital all at once. All the greed and terror in the world tore into Revachol. It lifted the streets from the ground and turned houses into ghosts. We were in the flak tower. He gestures towards it. Huddled on the floor, the artillery was 80 kilometers away in ozone, but I knew the commune would fall. We would all be turned into ash, so I said I was going to the map room. He looks east. A terrible shame still within him. The lobes of his ears are red with it, the shame and smallness of what he became. You didn't go to the map room. No. I climbed the chain link across the water and hid inland, in the bunkers there, like the weakest of the weak, a mouse, frightened of the ordnance all night and the sound of the rotors in the morning. Wherein? He looks at the sky. What was that? Airships. I climbed out. He closed his eyes. Into hell. The landings were complete. The chain was submerged. I had to swim back. The fortress was half submerged too, shattered. They'd all drowned in the lower levels, or got torn to shreds above. The anti-aircraft gun had malfunctioned. So had I. I left them without ideological direction. He opens his eyes and stares right through you. It was real. I'd seen it. I'd seen it in reality. Some kind of great terror, worse than you'd ever seen. What did you see? The mask of humanity fall from capital. It has to take it off to kill everyone. Everything you love. All the hope and tenderness in this world. It has to take it off, just for 1 second, to do the deed. And then you see it as it strangles and beats your friends to death. The sweetest, most courageous people in the world. He's silent for a second. You see the fear and power in his eyes. Then you know what? That the bourgeois are not human. Let him finish. I had to fight it. I had to never stop. The old man falls silent. His black eyes keep piercing your skin as he looks to some great distance behind you, shaking his head slowly, retreating from it. What is this place, the island? It's not an island. He looks around. It's a defensive fortification of commune of Revachol, and I am its last surviving defender. What was it used for? The congenitally deformed King Philip II built it to restrict access to the Bay of Revachol. We captured it in '02, retrofitted the front with an AA gun to defend against airborne landing, against the whole world. You mean the landing? Retaken of Revachol? Coalition military called it the Operation Deathblow. He winces. Later I found out on the radio they called it Deathblow. You're one of them. Tell me, who speaks like that? We had 50 million people on Kalu alone. Coalition military. He shakes his head and says, Iblis. Iblis? The black-eyed angel, he nods. How have you survived all this time? How does anyone survive? He looks at his one running shoes. I steal. What do you steal? Supplies, vegetables. He winces. I collect rainwater. It's the life of a dog, not a human being. He coughs once more, then puts his hand on his belly. How is your health, Mr. Dross? I've been throwing up blood since winter red. Like beetroot. Been passing it in stool too. He does seem frail, going for his age. More like 75 than 65. Trouble putting on weight could mean cancer. The RCM can provide medical services. You need to be looked over. I need to die. A droll smile stretches across his mouth. You don't have medical facilities, you have guns. That's all they give you, toy guns. You also have Dramamine. We have that and other opioid-based painkillers. You must be in pain. A light goes on in his eyes. He smacks his dry lips. I have been running out of that stuff. There's no way he could manage the pain without them. It's safe to say he's addicted to painkillers by now. You like it, don't you? Dramamine. It's the little joy. A crooked smile appears on his face, a dark joke. A sunshiny day, morphine. This is a serious situation. You need to be looked over and we could do it. There's nothing to look over. The triage is in and it's black. Administer morphine, moribund. How have you coped mentally? I haven't. I have holes in my brain, years missing. Others filled with pain only. A decade of his eyes roll into his skull and back. I don't even know what. Inferno? You notice the lieutenant is about to say something. I would imagine it gets tremendously difficult mentally to live in isolation. Traitors, it's better alone. He nods towards Martinez. I watch the people of this city turn the lights back on, more and more each year, ruins, glimmering in the dark, like a fucking merry-go-round. It's disgusting. He looks down at his shoes, his face parched from the sun and the wind. There's a wince of pain there somewhere. Are they not heartbroken? How could they have moved on? How have you concealed yourself all these years? It was hard in the tens. He shakes his head. I didn't have partisan training. They were searching for stragglers, those bloodhounds. He closed his eyes. Floodlights on the water at night. They were posters, campaigns. We communards still hoped, and they need to snuff that hope out. The East capitulated. Martinez and Coal City were turned into dust. He looked south. But Jamrock, Forborg, even Kuron and Boogie Street, of course, those fucking kipts had Mazov coursing through their veins. And others too. Some cordons of Revachol were still fighting. They were calls. I tried to contact them. He shakes his head. Soon they were all silent. The frequency's dead. How did you get between here and mainland? At night, I used a dinghy. He nods towards a deflated tyre in the reeds. I only went after dark then. When I got to the city I stayed underground. Patrols. You lot. The commoners too. They started snitching. In the city you move underground? From bunker to bunker, he nods. Not anymore. No one cares now. I don't even have to hide. They think I'm another antisocial vagrant. I could walk straight into that town if I wanted. He falls silent, his gaze fixed on the shacks huddled together across the water. The weapons cache under St. Ghislaine Point 22. Point to it. In the basement, have you been there? He looks at you, then pulls the raincoat tighter around his neck. So you finally found it. There must have been a small squadron's worth of arms in there. Belmagov's, right? They were, damaged beyond use. I know. So you've been there. Sleeping, he coughs. Some nights, ammo scrounging on others. Those Magovs were shit even before they corroded. Some had bullets in their chambers, however. You feel the dots connecting, like little dots on the map he's walking across. There's a small bunker under the Feld building. Have you stayed there? The propaganda bunker? He coughs. I used to, but not anymore. Propaganda bunker. They stored leaflets there, broadcasting equipment too. Made broadcasts, I think. Propaganda officers. I buried them with their leaflets. They killed themselves. 2 young boys. Killed themselves? A lot of our boys did. I spent some winters there. Never liked it. Kept thinking of them. He stares at the ruins of the Feld building. No need to go underground anymore. It's better in the ruins on the ground. Why don't you just walk there? I don't want to. They're all traitors, pigs, rabbits and dogs. Men without ideals and only animals. He does not want to see life moving on. People forgetting, drinking, laughing. One more question. Do you smoke Teomatiri cigarettes? I do, he coughs. Ever smoke them on the mainland? They're good, he nods. Plenty of tar. I like that boy on the pack too. Reminds me of the last century. Tell me another thing. You said this is your termless surrender. You with the RCM? He waves in your general direction. The coalition appointed mob that enforces bourgeois morals on Revachol. We're not coalition appointed. We just try to help people. That's right. We enforce the law. We keep these animals from killing each other. I have secret plans to turn the RCM into a muzzle. We're the RCM and leave it at that. Let's. He looks at you in the eye. You represent the Moralist International. The enemies of humanity who took this city. I represent the adversary. Le Parti Communiste d'Insulinde. Take me to them as a prisoner of war. I have relinquished my weapon. I can no longer serve. No superiors can relieve me of my duty. You bulldoze them all to a mass grave for trying to free humanity. His hand shakes and breaks into a coffin fit. A spray of blood from his mouth on the back charcoal of the fire pit. So you're a communist soldier from the communist army? No, I'm not a soldier. I am an ideological officer. I belong to the party, not the army. But you said you were trained and assigned to the Defence Corps. Trained, he nods, in historical materialism, and then assigned as a political commissar by the party. These things used to mean something. And what does the political commissar do? The old man does not answer. He tilts his sliver head and looks at the reeds. His silver head. You see a small tremor pass through his legs. The lieutenant speaks softly. His job was to assure the army answers to civilian control and follow the ideology of the commune. Scientific communism. The tracksuit-clad old man is suddenly reanimated. A commissary politique is a night philosopher of the revolution, a future human. Awakened from shutdown by the promise of ideology. He was like a cleric, a shepherd. So you were a priest? No, he shakes his head. The opposite of that. A future human, not a human of the past. That means you're a trained communist, right? He nods slowly, then another tremor. I'm a moralist. I'm a moralist. No, you're not. You're part of the meat shield, he squints. The human shield that surrounds the fascists while they kill and rape, that's what you are. Detective, the lieutenant gives you a stern look. We have not come here to discuss ideology. He then turns to the old man. We have come to ask questions regarding murder investigation. The old man spits into the fire. He does not say anything more. A jitter passes his lower body. The expression on his face is unreadable. There's some sort of indifference there. Neurological. There's definitely something off with his body. Something more than just metabolism or even cancer. I have another serious question for you. Assess his body language. What strikes you about this gaunt man is not the stomach pain or the cough or the malnutrition. For a man who spent 44 years hidden in the urban wild, he is surprisingly okay. Indeed, he speaks fluidly, his movements are rapid if erratic, his voice despite the cough is there, it is capable of expressing complicated ideas. Above all, he seems animated. Animated by what? It's a mystery. This animation comes at a cost too. Erratic hand gestures, thought processes cut off like threads as he just stares at the logs and the reeds. He also suffers mood swings, bubbling to the surface, unconstrained by his nervous system. Great leaps of emotion, from anger to grief, despair. Wouldn't a foul temper be a byproduct of his life? Dementia? You've seen demented people before. This feels similar yet different. When his thoughts move, they are lucid, keen, even not senile. It is some kind of substance damage, like he's addicted to something, not only the painkillers he's clearly on. Mr. Dross, are you on some kind of psychoactive substance? No, he snaps out of staring through you. I won't be stuffed full of shit like the rest of the city. You said you take painkillers. The lieutenant follows your lead. I take them to cope with the pain. The people of the city use painkillers because they have pain. Untreated illnesses, not enough money for a greedy doctor. He's indeed very lucid at times. I am not a downer, rather an upper, judging by his snaps. Wouldn't a foul temper be a byproduct of his life? Perhaps, but he seems more than that. An inner turmoil makes unexpected turns as if forced on him in a way. In summary, you sense some underlying neurological disorder. Are you on amphetamines? Like some kind of decadent rock star? He doesn't dignify it with more of an answer. Mr. Drow, are you okay? How's your memory? He waves his hand, chasing something that's not there. No, I'm not okay. I did shit blood and I'm surrounded by insane people. There it is again. And erratic hand motions, bouts of rage, and the stomach thing too, of course. Could it be a symptom of overdosing on something? Something even you have not tried? Kept your eyes peeled? One more time. What have you used this gun for? What have I used it for? He looks you dead in the eye. I've used it for killing people. Here we go. A trail of blood. The lieutenant smells it too. Killing people. It's a gun. That's what they're for. You want a moralist euphemism? Defending your family and your property. I haven't done that. I've used it to kill people. Interesting, the lieutenant nods. During or after the war? There is no after the war. He shakes his head and smiles. His teeth rotten black. Class war is never over. This is it. You can feel it. Like battery acid on the tip of your tongue. Something you haven't felt in a while. But what? This is what you live for. This is the shit. The great serotonin jackpot. Go in straight. No euphemisms. He doesn't like those. No, be careful now. Slow and steady does it. Make him repeat it first. Don't mess this up, remember. He wants to tell you. Get personal. So you're saying you killed people after active fighting stopped? What did I just say? He keeps shaking his head, erratically suddenly. He brushes something out of his eye. What did I just tell you? Don't drop the ball now. Did you use that gun to shoot and kill the colonel of the security contractor in Crennel? The who now? He leans in and cups his ear. He heard you. He just wants to hear you say it. You're in. The fascist death squad who took a bullet in the mouth on the night of March the 4th. The corpse in ceramic armour, hanging behind the woolen rags. Did you shoot him? Oh yes, that one. He looks up the sky and clacks his tongue. ugly piece of work, that boy. Did you kill him? The lieutenant takes a sudden step towards him. I am a son of a welder, and an officer of the community of Revachol. He spits a big one at the lieutenant's feet. I do not corroborate with murderers of pederastats of the liberal regime. A drop of blood in the saliva. The scent of blood in the air, but what else? There was something you can't remember. Something about the tracks. Suddenly all those tracks are so confusing. Go with something else first. We've done the ballistics. The shot came from this island. I saw you poking around there looking for evidence. You're damn diligent when it comes to dead faces. A jitter passes him. Did you like the view? You had direct visibility there and embrasures in concrete, specifically meant for a top faller to use, and you had a long-range rifle in your possession. The lieutenant softens his voice. You've been here a long time, Mr. O. Too long. You clearly need medical aid. I'm ready to die. The man interrupts him, then coughs. I've done my part. He's practically admitting to it. Dead faces for fascist. Done his part. You said fasces. You're admitting you killed him. You're sad for your fascia brother, aren't you? One twig got broken, now the other are sad. He waves his hand. There's a twitch. Then one more in his right eye. Almost. He almost burst out there. Keep piling arguments. Anything. I don't need your cooperation. I've got this. Show me the weapon. Heh. Not a lot of guns around that use military grade ammunition, are there? It's a real gun. He points to your sidearm. Not like that little musketeer pistol. I've seen you prance around with that. Jumping hoops for the liberals. You look like imbeciles. Why don't you ask them to give you real weapons? He chortles. Going against automatic rifles with these toy guns. Of course you got those boys killed. Damn, he saw you. He watched it happen. So he saw you. Okay. So what? Don't let it divert you. Stop changing the subject. We have the murder weapon. You know what? The lieutenant looks at the weapon demonstratively. You're right. I'm convinced this made the shot. Should we call it? Dramatically ask. You think we have the murder weapon? I'm calling it. We have the murder weapon. Good. The lieutenant takes out his notebook and draws a single line. This feels good, doesn't it? Tying things up like this. When you have the murder weapon, you have the killer. Murder. The old man does not say more. He just glances into the reeds and then twitches once more. Like a marionette on some invisible string. This pushed him, but not enough. Just a little more. You're a communist. I talked to the dead man. He told me communism killed him. Stupid droid, he scoffs. The lieutenant looks at you with worry in his eyes. Not this, he seems to say, anything but this. You fucked with the wrong police officer. I have paranatural abilities. It was intuition. Had he spoken, he would have said communism killed him. Intuition is an apparent psychogasm. Psychologism, he chortles. It reeks of crypto-fascism. The parasite class use intuition to justify their rank in life. All just palmistry and magic. Earl creatures. Your brain is rotten from the radio waves. He looks in the air, then turns to Kim. The lieutenant does not answer the provocation. He does not look like he thinks this approach worked. Yeah, this just did nothing. But still, somehow you knew it was a communist. How did I know this? Perhaps you suspected it before you took the case. But this did nothing. Was it supposed to? Actually, I'm beginning to think he's right and this is just crypto-fascism. I will look deeper then. The inland sea is dark, vast, and on the surface meaningless. Is this the miracle? No, the miracle is still waiting. This is the darkness. But aren't I way out in the west? You are. Soon it will happen. Turn back to him. Right. Come on, what am I forgetting? Hit yourself in the side of the head. Wait, here it comes. The goddamn Maybells. The dried Maybells on Clash's roof. Oh yes. There were Maybells in the grass when you got there. They are revolutionary symbols from the war. Nowhere else. Nowhere in all of Martinez have you seen them this spring. Wait, don't forget the footprints. The diagonal prints in the dust on the secret space behind Clash's bedroom. Now, they're gonna come up. Of course. Thank you, Head, thank you. You got it. Remember, the boot prints were like no modern soul. Maybe don't beat yourself anymore though. You're not immortal. I wonder what brand of boots you're wearing. Everything is brands with you individualists. Who cares what brand my shoes are, Santa? He looks at his running shoes, covered in mud. Some shit. Show me the soles, please, Mr. Draw. Fucking imbecile. The old man stretches out his leg. A black and white spiral pattern covers the sole, worn out old running shoes on his feet. The maker of it's called Sansaric and the size is 42 to 44. These are not the unusual horizontal pattern soles you saw in the dust on the floor of the hidden room. They do, however, seem to be about the same size. The size fits, but not the sole. The lieutenant comes of the same conclusion. Maybe it's simpler than that. Let's give it a shot. Wait, it worked. Sire, he doesn't have to be wearing them right now. People change shoes. It doesn't mean you weren't there, near the room that victim died in, sneaking around. Racking those brains, are you? He squints at you, black pearls gleaming with hatred, desperate to report something back to your masters. They must have really loved that dead fuck. The lieutenant gives you a quick sideways glance and nods to acknowledge. The prints were his. You can see it in those eyes. He can't keep them from flickering, looking for something. The old man stares at his own prints in the ash around the fire, silent. Suddenly, some strange process within him. A gush of wind, seagulls in the distance. You've almost got him. Just a last little push. There were maybells behind the victim's window. Show him the dried flower. Damn maybells. He looks at the blossoming field behind you. The whole island is turning white with them. He seems tender, suddenly nostalgic even, a strange mood swing. So many this year too. The spring is coming, no. It's already here. Wash the filth away. I haven't seen these flowers anywhere else in Martinez, only here. They've blossomed on the islets before. We fertilized them with our blood. He looks towards the water. Resurrection was snow white in May, before they ruined it. South, the Bay of Martinez is dotted with little freckles of islets turning green, with white flowers in white snow. The coast too, before they piled their containers on top of it, filled with broken, useless trash for fat-fingered bourgeois children to play with. You must get around a lot, to stay undetected all these years. Do you... The lieutenant's voice is soft, friendly. Do you know any secret paths, pinball workshops? I may. A curious tremor passes his face. A young woman called Clastya ring any bells? These dried flowers were behind her window. Clastya. He repeats the name with care, as if it were at risk of breaking. You like that name, don't you? She had intimate relationships with the victim, the mercenary. With the victim! He turns his sight from the whitening field of flowers and falls silent. Then muscles in his jaw twitch, a spasm. There's a small tremble, looks like a smile, a crooked smile, yet isn't quite voluntary. He's about to burst. He suddenly jerks to life. You know who he was. A coalition-trained murderer, armoured and armed. He wasn't human, the blunt end of a hammer, dripping with blood. He was a rapist. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. He was a killer. But he was still under the protection of the law. He was a rapist. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. Beating us to the ground, mourning with joy, he breathes in with strange animation. You hounds get so thorough when company-trained killer dies. I haven't seen you on this course for 40 years. You know, maybe I should have killed one sooner. Got your attention. He looks you dead in the eye, pupils shaking. Now, you stop beating druggies and prostitutes in your basement. Now, you come to investigate. Not when they die by the hundreds. He breathes through flared nostrils. This is it. Shot him. Shot him. Say shot him and not killed him. So you shot him. Oh, the inhumanity. He closes his black eyes. One paramilitary less than Ravachol. You can almost see him squeeze a tear out of his eye. His fists begin to tremble from the anger. The lieutenant raises his right arm to hush you. Hush. He does not need to be pushed anymore. The ball is rolling. While the lieutenant listens, holding his breath, just nod. I had them in my sights, both of them. Him and the whore. I was breathing with them, in phase, and I pulled the trigger and flew on the air until I landed in his mouth. He begins to smile. I didn't think I had a shot like that in me anymore. I did. I saw him kneel there with his mouth full of death, and the stupid look on his face. The smile quivers. And his dick still in her. Then what? Nothing. I went to sleep. Next morning, there were Maybells everywhere. The world was white. Or what's left of it anyway. My last spring here. I knew the fascists would come to avenge their own. And so they did. The lieutenant just looks at him for 1, maybe 2 seconds, then breaks the silence. Mr. Drow, are you aware you are confessing to murder? Yes. A single word is all he gives. The lieutenant takes out his notebook slowly, very slowly, and you were looking at them, the victim and the young woman having sex. Youth having sex. Through the scope of your rifle that night, before you shot him. The old man nods. Oh, you dirty bugger, I bet he was having a wank in that tower. Why? Because that's what they were doing, he shrugs. He smacks his lips. I don't understand, he turns to you. Do you, detective? I don't understand this part. Why were you looking at them that night? He was getting his jollies off. I was always looking. He cocks his head to the side, then turns his eyes to the city. Another tremor passes his left side, lower in intensity. Are you always looking through the scope of a rifle? He explains. I'm just trying to understand. A rifle's scope has the best magnification. And if you don't like it, you just pull the trigger? Yes. He looks you in the eye. Think of it as a form of critique. Start with when he first saw him. It will give him a chance to ramble. When did you first see the deceased? 3 weeks ago. When the rich hag came in on her galley. Her honour guard came in tow. Joyce. He means Joyce. By that you mean Joyce Messier, the Wild Pines rep. Wrinkled up whore, he nods. What is it with these whores and pederacists? Aren't you a communist? Lacks sexual morals or a bourgeois ploy. He gargles a spitball. As to pedestry. The party legalised it in '04. My party, not your liberal masters. He spits it out on the drying coals. So don't you sermonise me, you racist shithole, he adds. It's still bourgeois when the bourgeois does it, fiddling with their sexual organs. Some strange glandular process takes place in him, and the thought, like yeast rising. And anger too, in addition to loneliness. The lieutenant coughs. Moving on. The victim arrives sometime after her. He nods towards the city. They moved into a deserted apartment above the roundabout. Radio equipment out for all to see. Reactionary radio playing. Sloppy and drunk. I've seen their kind during the landing. Those Occidental and Mesk phalangs weren't conscripts, boys like us. They were whites. All they know is to destroy and hurt. What are whites? Barely alive. They like to kill. While they're on drugs. After the landing, in the burning years, I would take shots at them, end them, the worst ones, if I had a bullet to spare. I could see they returned now, to show their real face, the face they don't dare show their bourgeois voters back on Monday, with their families in polyester clothes. What specifically did you not like about what you saw the night of the murder? Them fucking. He looks at the charred wood. I didn't like that. So you were jealous. Jealousy is a reactionary concept. I didn't like the Reaver enjoying himself, drugged out, smoothed in the arms of a young woman. I wanted him to die so he could not enjoy life anymore. And I wanted her to see his head explode, he nods. That too. She would know better than to hold a child murderer between her thighs. I knew he'd be there for 1 more second, writhing. That's all it takes for the bullet to reach his head, he squints. Now that I think of it, I wasn't aiming for the mouth. I wanted his brains to spill out on her, but, he shrugs, you can't have everything. This man has seen past her, like you did. and now he longs to see her covered in blood, to punish her. How long have you been watching her? You wanted to punish her, so you killed him. She practically breastfed that man. You wouldn't believe the things she let him do to her. He shakes his head and stares at the ashes. You stare at them too in your mind. Her innocence. Day still turns to leave. Airport bag in hand. Silks flowing in her wake. The dream. See you tomorrow, Harry. Her voice rings in the evening air, burning. You saw through her, so did I. You're delusional. There's nothing to see in the soul of the bourgeois woman. It's the same as the surface. Sick hedonism and depression. I'm not like that. I don't think like that. No one gives a shit what you think. The old man spits in the ash. You and your cronies kill 10 working class men a day. I've heard the statistics on Channel 8. How long had you been watching her? Since she came to Martinez, I saw her sneaking in the reeds early in the morning, behind the Feld building. It was dark, still winter. She didn't have her skimpy outfit on then, just a spot in the night moving. I wonder if he stole her documents. Past the Feld building on the coast. What was she doing there? Hiding something in the water. She had a fag after she'd done it. I was up in the ruins there. She couldn't see me, but I could see her, smoking. She was nervous, but not scared. And beautiful. And beautiful. That too, he nods. How could you see what she looked like? You said it was dark. The sun came up. Her hair was like cobwebs. She smoked more fags and snorted a line of whatever shit she was on. Right there, he shakes his head. She needed it to move. What do you think she hid there? Her passport and tickets to villas. He coughs. And from there to Cashabroom. This is the hidden boy she told you about. You looked into it. He nods. After she was gone. Do you keep what was in it? When we found the submersible, it was empty. No, why would I do that? I didn't need tickets to villas. I put them back if I wanted to extort someone I'd do better. This implies that he thought about extorting her. Are you sure? We checked the submersible. There was nothing there. He looks to the reeds, confused. Why would I need that trash? I'm not going to villas. There it is again. The strange neurological state he's sometimes in. Moving on. Did you continue watching her after this? I did. He almost smiles. She had a face like an archipelago, with those birthmarks, and a body hard and lean and bruised all over, black and yellow. I could see she's taken a beating. I could see who she was too, he nods. A spook, on the run. Revachol's the cloaker of capital now. All the bagmen and arms dealers end up here, to do drugs and have sex like animals. You could tell she was a spook from the documents. She had different colour hair on the photo and glasses forged. Some sordid bourgeois affair. I've heard about this kind of thing on the radio. The bruises. You can't make that out in a scope. And you could see her bruises through the scope on a rifle. You can see her bruises a scope. It's just a blur. He shakes his silver grey head. Reaction speed 92%. How did he know those minute details about her body? It quickly comes to you. The bruises on her body. Any chance you've seen them through a hole in the wall? Oh yes, he smacks his lips. Cutting those drugs of hers into little lines with a knife, masturbating. Oh, you dirty beggar. He's watching her blast herself off. Everything in him fills with impossible longing all at once. Did you make that hole? With a clip point knife. Good for listening in too, for hearing the moaning and the snorts. Ever see her through a window on a roof? Like that too, yes, he nods, bending like a bow against the glass. You've been through the secret route behind the whirling and rags. Those were your footsteps there. You just changed your shoes. I've been through all of Martinez, every nook and cranny, and that too. Yes, that too. He shakes his head, almost in awe. The things they did in that little room, what she'd do to feel good, he explains. Funny, the way light works. You turn it on inside, and it gets so dark out you can't see a man looking in. I learned that in the 20s, when they were still hunting me. I've seen people do some shit, but he keeps shaking his head. Those two took the cake. You hear the familiar scribble of the lieutenant's pen, a quick glance at you. One more loose end down. We're doing this, detective. Then, at the man. How did you get in there? The hidden pinball workshop. I can just walk in there now, after a good wash. I told you they think I am an antisocial. Closing hour is a good time, when the kitchen is empty. Ah, that's right, because they leave the door open. But that means he would have to have the key. You had to open the steel door in the kitchen, how? I got that open a long time ago. Some bourgeois game merchant lived there. I don't know, 15 years ago? He left spare keys all over and I took one. Then I saw her turn the light on one night in my scope. He points towards the whirling in rags. And he found uses for it, a spare key, like the one hanging behind the union box window. You had feelings for that woman. There, he sighs. There's nothing to hold on to, only this. It's not enough. The corners of his eyes glisten suddenly, like stones dripping with water. Is he crying? Man needs to feel something else in this fight. It helps if you have your eye on something there. He looks to the city. It's a weakness, I know. Was that why you left the dried flowers behind her window? No. He starts to shake his head again. A sunflower on a withered stalk. Why then? I don't really know. I was there one night and she was crying like a child in the corner of the room, on the floor, like she does sometimes. When was this? The day after I killed him, and you brought her the Maybells. Yeah, he looks at the charred logs. I don't know why I do the things I do anymore. It's as if something put the thought in there to leave the flowers. Something put the thought in you, a compulsion. What do you mean, put? He raises his eyes. They are round and wide. A brief flash of terror. I just got this feeling from what you said. Do you agree? Maybe. He lowers his head and just stares at the logs. I told you. I have holes in my brain now. I wouldn't just sit here waiting for you. I know it's fucking strange, isn't it? Why is he just sitting here? A sudden pang of rage. If you came 10 years ago, I would have killed you, he wipes his eye. In the silence, the lieutenant draws a line in his notes, then nods at you once more. One more down. So in conclusion, it wasn't about him, it was about her. Her, he repeats, staring at the ashes. Then the reeds. There's a twitch in the corner of his eye. The lieutenant nods at you in acknowledgement. That's it. Motive. We have it. The old man looks at you, suddenly remembering something. Where is she? That clashed her. I haven't seen her for 3 days. She got away, but she led us here first. She'd figure out someone was watching her from the sea fort. Gone. He looks at the city and nods. I knew it. She kept staring at the scope this last week, at the island, like she knew, he sighs. She'd look, at night, crying or smoking on the roof, staring right in me, he adds. To no one in particular, it doesn't matter. Midtown across the Bay of River Shoals, the oceanic wind washes 40-story towers above them. Lucerne Central Aerodrome, a cocoon suspended in a sky by a web of suspension wiring encircled by hybrid aircraft. Look north. On the platform, a young woman is withdrawing from amphetamines, barbiturates and alcohol, yet she still smiles along the crowd, among the great ghosts of the city. She's leaving, for another, far south. Smaller, distant, hidden, not like the great chandelier she sees sparkling in the spring air below her, streets and towers, tenements and water, and across it, dark strips of ruins barely visible, if she didn't squint her eyes. There, on a dilapidated jetty in a nameless village, 2 police officers and 1 special consultant look across a narrow strip of sea. The ruins of a sea fort stick in the water, built by Philippe II, reappropriated by the Commune, then lost in the landing. He's there, doing what exactly? I don't know. Satellite officer Biskimia points at the ruins. Behind the anti-aircraft something, that's why we can't see him. Special consultant Heidelstam is optimistic. We'll see the boat when he comes. Let's go get a coffee until then. I know this interesting little place where... His voice trails off as the 3 walk down the jetty. As the men go, Patrol Officer Minoir looks back over the shoulder at the crumbling fortification like a rotten tooth rising out of the water. Good luck, Harry, she thinks. You need something good for this. We could get more. The lieutenant uses the opportunity to tell you, in a lowered voice. We've got him talking. You could get more out of him. He likes talking. Enough. Take him in. Bend his arms behind his back. No. Been looking at anything else you haven't liked? A tragicomedy. He shakes to life. Druggies, prostitutes, and rentiers. Strange little engine seems to fire up in him again. It straightens his back. More specifically, the whole city is a charnel house, stripped clean and draped in neon, but Martinez, he shakes his head in grave disgust. Martinez is the worst. How come? Because of the racists. Everyone is a racist in Martinez. It's their favourite thing to do in the whole world, listening to race-themed radio shows, in the ruins, in their lorries. He points inland. Pumped full of steroids in Radio Revachol 92, race this, race that, it's all sectioned by that Social Democratic Union and the farce of a Social Democrat who ruins it. Mr. Clare. Yes. The fly larva in the container. He lets some nihilistic, advertising yuppies erect a statue of Philippe III, a syphilitic murderer, on the town square, to spit on the working class. Let them finish, do not interrupt. Not since the serfs of ancient Peloponnesus has history produced a more inert social class than the Martinez pro-electorate. The rest of Ravachol at least pretends to rebuild. These people still live in ruins. Intense like animals, he points to the church. Like those boom morons on the ice. A pity they didn't drown in the tent of theirs. He keeps shaking his head with sorrow for the sight he missed. That all? The worst of them is the blood-drenched Succumb on her yacht, licking her lips. The old whore's gone now. Her gun-toting porcelain men are dead. So actually no. The worst is the old cock parading around in his uniform, throwing his balls all day. It's not enough that the racists and liberals are dancing in our graves. The old loyalist ghouls still parade in the ruins too. He's talking about the old guy that died. Every morning he's there, while the parasites he fought to protect are often in Ozone, or Croyant Moirin, or some other island they've built their palaces on, feeding on drugs and having sex with their own children. Say nothing. That's all the rich really want, sex with their own children. Throughout history, even the royal bloodlines of the suzerain, it's all just an excuse for them to have sordid sex. At least that old cunt Friesel is now dead. Nod. We did good when we pushed them under the horse car. If only in the 30s, those disco whores. What follows is ominous mumbling. You cannot make out a single word. The disco whores are too much. Hatred shuts down his brain's language centre, leaving only a nonsensical sputter. What was that about steroids? It piqued your interest. Ask about that cock on a parade too. Make sure you get everything here. By the cock parading in his colourful uniform, you meant Renee. Every fucking morning for 34 years, he grinds his teeth in rage, throwing that ball, one ball against the other. I've always loathed that game. There's not a working class game. I don't care what they say on Radio June. Royalist ghouls play it like it was life itself. Click clack. He makes the sound of balls connecting across the water each day, and that uniform like a parrot's plumage. I won't even mention he's a traitor to his race. Petanic maniac, race traitor. Just nod. I remember him. He points to his black eye. I remember him from La Noce. Not him personally. His make and model. There were tens of thousands of them. I thought we took them all out before the liberals came to their rescue. We missed one. With his shaky finger he points to the city towards the crater near the plaza, where a lonely pine tree stands. That one. There doesn't seem to be a single person under the pine today, not even Gaston alone. There's no one there. Fat and plump, like a pheasant. He does not hear you, just begging to be popped off. A grin stretches across his face. A grin stretches across his face, and he says very softly, "Please, Mr. Drow, shoot me." He whispers with such predatory hunger it borders on longing. You'd like to kill him? The smile lingers. Not yet. I like to look at him strut around. Place the crosshair on his medals, right on his face, and just fiddle the trigger. Think about it. Let the bonbon melt in my mouth. Save the treat for later, the lieutenant asked cheerfully. He is a juicy bonbon, that one. A real treat. For the black day, the blackest. When I put that gun in my own mouth, I think, no, don't waste it. Put the lead in that cock, Renee, for the boys he's killed. And then I look at him, those balls, and I suddenly feel. He lets out a wistful sigh. Better. I even hid one bullet so I'd have one for him. The liners on his face straighten as he looks inland. Haven't seen him around lately, strutting around. Must be down with arthritis. I hope it hurts like hell. I hope he sweats blood. Hearing it may destabilize him. You sure you've gotten everything from him? Bad arthritis, yes. He's not playing this week. Heh. Yes, of course. He seems to relax a bit. I hope it hurts like hell. I hope he sweats blood. Must be torture. No, not throwing his balls for a whole week. He seems relieved. Could he have been worried for him? He reminds him of himself. The same hatred, the same... You try to think of another thing, but no, just the hatred. They are veterans of the same war. Somewhere west, the cold city, his enemy is lying in the dark room on the metal slider in Elysium Municipal, like he was too. Soon, half the war between these men is over. With an agitated gait, Satellite Officer Jean Vicome places the jetty 22 kilometers east in Martinez. What could he possibly do there for so long, he says. Police work, Patrol Officer Judy Minoir replies, with a tinge of hope in her voice. A tinge of warmth, too, against the cold air rising from the water. Right, so what next? Disco whores. Whores. It's all he says. Even that word has to be pushed to his teeth with great force. The rage seethes too hard. And the racist on the gates, pumped full of steroids. Yes, steroids. A racist on steroids. You mean Measurehead, right? What is your opinion on him? What is my opinion? You think the rich man has an opinion on his idiocy. Is the rich man on the radio telling you his opinion? No, he answers you. The rich man's looking at real estate and fiddling his kids, wading through the corpses. Ha, yes, but he was there. Why was he there if you can't have an opinion? By the way, I have internalized his Weltanschauung. Oh, I'm sure you have. All internalized your fair share of racism at the RCM. You don't have to tell me, it shows. Can't stop talking about some kind of head measuring man. The lieutenant gives you a nod. Go on, he seems to say. Keep talking about the head measuring man. Politics yields information from this man. Gets him spitting facts. You're right. I too am a level-headed moral person unaffected by Measurehead. I find it strange that you keep bringing this up. You moralist types are eternally... Hold on. Are eternally fascinated with these race topics. Helping the ruling class... Helping the ruling class conduct their swindle. The rich man doesn't care about complexion. He rules the world. And he laughs at your moral soliloquies. He stares into the dead embers. I'm going to go back to say about this. Then why was he there? Scratching away at the race question. You moral intern monkeys keep the conversation going on Channel 4, helping the rich man conduct this swindle with inanity. You think the rich man cares about... Oh yeah, okay. You mentioned the Union is social democratic and Mr. Clay a farce. Wait there. I think there might be something more to get out of this. Did you notice that he is not? Point towards the general area of your face. Old, an alcoholic. With each word he squirms a bit more. Fascist? Hold on. No, I meant, keep pointing at your force, generally reddish and pink. I want to say yes. Not everyone is, he nods. Most people are young. And that. I've been talking for so long, my throat's just fucking give in. The rich man took everything from you. Lumpen proletariat. Accept your bottle. And your race garbage. You can keep that too. Keep the conversation going for the rich man on Channel 4. Eroding working class solidarity. He stares into the dead embers. You mentioned the Union, Social Democratic Mr. Clay. Another hideous disappointment. He pokes at the ash. Unions are the real enemy. The true enemy of the Wait there. My eyes have went blurry as well. Proletariat. Placating the masses. Disappointment so personal. He displays a familiarity with the Union's top brass. Who's a disappointment? Everett Clay? That deformed toad. I wouldn't expect him to wipe his own ass. I mean the brains of the operation, the smart one. Edgar. You mean Edgar, Everett's brother. The old man chortles with a nod. He talks a big game about uprising and social base. They must have sent the smart one to some university in Le Jardin, where it's alienation, this, and hegemony, that. He's been sweet-talked by this Edgar. They must have met in person for such an animosity to have developed. We're not the first people you've met from the city, are we? You can't live alone. He stopped poking at the ash now, just shakes his head. The Clares wouldn't miss a man hidden in their own backyard. Not all this time. Nothing happens in Martinez without them knowing. Don't go straight for the kill. Exhaust everything first, soften them up. Have you approached them? I haven't approached anyone. I've hid. It was Edgar who came to me. How did he know you were here? He didn't. He didn't just stumble in like an oaf. He nods at you. He figured it out. Some kids told him about a monster on the island. I told you. He has brains. He points to the path leading to the tower. Step right off the boat and walk down where you came. I even kept the door open for him. Thought he was a man on the left. Wouldn't rat me out. I was right about one of those things. When was this? 20 years ago. Neither of them could walk. Now, could they? They were less fat then. What did you talk about? Edgar did the talking. Paid his respects like I were a fossil in a uniform. Offered platitudes about the struggle. Flaunted his pink degree. Even quoted Mazov. Never trust a social democrat who quotes Mazov. He suddenly remembers. Oh, and charity too. They love their charity. Offered me blankets and social housing. I still have the gas cooker he bought. And he let you be here. Let me be here, he looks around. The Tsar is an unlawful successor of Commune of Revachol. We took this fortification from the loyalists. Even the Clays understand this. They let him be here. Understanding was a courtesy. But why such a courtesy? Mr. Drow, did you kill the criminal mercenary for the Clays to incite a riot? You know why I killed that fucker droid? He shakes his head. As to Edgar, I'm not doing anything for that swine again. Again, what have you done for Edgar before? Tried teaching him some Mazovian social economics. They didn't stick. We parted ways, he coughs. Okay, he didn't do the hanged man for them, but he's insinuating something. I've got no chance of doing this logic check. What was the deal between him and Edgar? Oh no, the connection didn't come to you on such a pivotal moment. Dumbo, do something. You can't zone out now. This isn't Lou dance time. Slap yourself in your head again. Jumpstart it. something with the union boss. Punch yourself in the head. Officer, the lieutenant watches you beat yourself in the head again, the second time in this interview. He quickly realizes what is happening. Mr. Drow, about this deal you made, he turns to him, with Edgar. The death of the criminal mercenary was only coincidentally beneficial to the Clays, but, he leans closer. What about the other people you've killed for them? Other people? Like the previous forewoman of the Union. That's it. That's what you weren't connecting yourself. Cheers, Kim bro, you're such a bro. He wags a finger at him. I didn't fight 40 years to end up as an informant for the international regime. What happened, happened. Still dumb. Your eyes are transfixed on his digit. It's yellow with nicotine. You are the law. He must divulge the information. Kim, we're not solving this part. What do we do? Look who's up. He grins at you from the drunken stupor. This one's worse for wear than me. Emotionally frayed, life is hard for us human beings in deregulation hell, isn't it? We will have plenty of time to talk about this later, Mr. Drow. The lieutenant does not let him gloat. When you're in pre-detention, it can take years in pre-detention. Go ahead. The struggle closes his gap-toothed smile. I've been in solitary confinement my whole life. Ease off it. This was not an unmitigated disaster. The lieutenant mitigated it. Just proceed calmly. You know about that Renee? Yes. Where is he? He tenses up. I hope he doesn't have debilitating arthritis or kidney stones. He can still come out to play with the balls and get shot in the head, right? Oh my god. He's even worried for him. Renee's dead. He died of old age a couple of days ago. No. Yes. The old communist looks at you, his blackberry eyes shaking in disbelief. I waited too long. I waited too long and now he's dead. I'm sorry, Mr. Drow, the lieutenant says softly. I understand you knew him for a long time. They're all dead now. He just shakes his head. Fuck it. You cared about him. A little flash of anger. All human beings care for each other. I cared for. Seeing head explode. And now, God damn this world. He reminded him of himself. The same hatred, the same. You try to think of something else, but no. It's just hatred. Are you okay, Mr. Drow, to go on? You think I haven't seen people die? It's all I've seen them do. Fucking die. All the other plans we had to love. To colonize the Pale. It's all fucked. The Pale. He's not okay. This is just another black day in a row of black days. Something strange is keeping him together, making him endure. I'm glad we talked about this now. Iosef Lilianovich Dross. Wait there. Let's just leave for a second. I ain't going anywhere. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to save it here. Because that took a lot longer than I thought. That was so much dialogue. 1 hour 23 of dialogue, bloody hell. Okay, so we've pretty much got this guy. We've got a motive. We've got him banked right. We've got the murder weapon. I'm going to have a look about to see if there's anything here. This guy keeps looking at the reeds. I've got an idea that we might find something. Possibly something else to get him on. And we'll do that next episode. Okay, lads. See you there.